question that I have is, you mentioned that it is very expensive. You paid a lot of money to get into cyber and then the certifications. What would you think of someone who wants to start? Would they require a full-time job and then do that on the side to get into cybersecurity, or what is your recommendation? Because obviously you just mentioned the time frame. I think people want to have some income generated until they transition into cyber. What would you recommend them to do?
That's gonna depend, honestly. It again depends what your goals are, what your timeline is.
Mm-hmm.
How much you want to spend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's always gonna cost you either three things: time, money, or energy, and normally all three. That's everything in life, right? So just understand like what you're willing to pay for what time horizon, right? For
Yeah.
example, if you're in it like your late teens, early 20s, then time might be your biggest thing because you can probably just straight up outwork most people because you're in your 20s and you're just physically fitter than most people, right? Compared to if you're 60 years old, you probably can't do that, right? So my advice will be different for different people, right? So I'll go with my example, right? So in my early 20s, right, that is what I did. I worked between school and work 80 hours a week, right? Because I physically was fit enough to actually do that without like dying or passing out, right? So that was my thing because right, I was 20, I was broke. I didn't have that much money, so my thing was to trade time, right? With the biggest currency that I had, so I did that. Going to each event, trying different things, failing over and over again, then continuously developing those skills, right? Um, so my thing would be, where are you currently are on your journey? What are your actual goals, and then what are you willing to sacrifice to reach those goals, right? And then break it into three different things: time, money, energy. It's gonna cost you what either all three or one of those three things. That's how it's going to work, right? And then your job is just to pick which thing you're actually willing to spend on, and then go from there.